With this channel, I try to always stay focused on basketball, whether it be talking about a specific player, a specific team, and just trying to focus it in on, things that are going on in the game. I can't ignore the latest that came out about the All-Star game. We're going to get into all that, plus the refereeing and officiating right after this.
The number one place for your daily basketball fix, NBA Central. Hosted by the one and only CEO Haize.
All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of NBA Central. I'm your host, Haize. You can follow me right off the top at CEO Haize. And we're going to jump right into it today. So came out a report today that they're going to be doing a little bit different as far as the selection of the All-Star teams. And they didn't want to have anyone feel like the last man syndrome. So they're going to be picking reserves and then going to starters. And my first response to this, and I don't mean to really be an asshole in regards to this, but it's going to come off that way, is what the fuck? First of all, there are kids on the playground when kids are picking teams that are the last man and they get over it and they play ball and they have fun. You mean to tell me a bunch of grown men getting paid millions of dollars to play a game of basketball, you want to avoid them feeling like they were the last man, the last one selected? Come on, man. That's like, and again, I'm not here to talk like what NBA players do, what they go through, what they put their bodies through, how they have to stay in peak physical condition. All that is amazing. And you have to commend people who dedicate their life and their bodies to doing those type of things. But to evolve the last pick situation and to do that, so now the captains pick the reserve players first, that still means that somebody's going to be picked last. We live in a society now where there is so much mental weakness, and I just expect more from the Warriors that they are, that they go out and that they go out and play and sacrifice their bodies and go through things that us who just play games or just watch the game or view the game would never be able to understand. But we are trying to avoid so much grown-ass men being the last one picked that we now just, and we have to announce it? Like, we have to announce it. What is going on? Like, this is literally one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. And yeah, this is a bit ranty. It kind of is what it is there, but I got to be true to how I feel and how I view things. And that's what the purpose of this channel is, for us to share our thoughts on everything that impacts the game that we love. And that's the NBA and that's basketball in general, because we do cover, or I cover more than the NBA on my other channels as well. So it's just, man, I just don't like this. And I just think it sends a bad precedent. Like, and again, am I thinking too deeply on it? Yes, I can admit that. This is something that I'm sitting here, I'm thinking too deeply on it. Absolutely. But let's also be clear here. That the thought process was too deep on it to from the get-go, that the NBA even thought, hey, this is a problem that we need to do something about. That this was that serious that they needed to make that change and announce the change so someone doesn't feel like they are being the last one picked. There's something just inherently wrong and just weird in regards to that, man. Like, come on. It's just weird. Like, that's just what it is. It's just weird. And this just goes to show just how soft mentally some people are. It just nowadays, like, come on. This is what we doing. We avoiding basketball players getting paid millions of dollars to play a game to avoid feeling like they were the last ones picked, and we got to make these changes and announce it. But, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We're going to move on. I had to get my thoughts off on it. Got my thoughts out. You guys can let me know how you feel about it down below. Moving on, though, and then focus back. So Adam Silver came out and said that refs are penalized, they are affected, they are punished. They just don't make those punishments public. And I had two thoughts of mine when it came to me seeing this. And the first one was, why don't you make it public? Everything else is made public. And to me, I'm very much a believer in, if the disrespect is public, the apology should be public as well. And while this is not necessarily an apology in the truest sense of the word, when you look at how egregious the officiating has been this season, and we haven't talked about it a lot here, I think everyone here kind of just, we take it for what it is. You can't change the NBA. You do have some refs that, they don't quote unquote want to be shown up, but then they kind of make themselves the star. And that's a problem in of itself. But when you really look at this and the fact that players, when they do stuff, they are punished publicly. When they go through things, they are published publicly. Everything is made public in regards to suspensions, anything like that, any type of punishments. Now, there are some times where the team can do some things internally and we don't know exactly necessarily. We don't get these huge press release on exactly what happened there and with coaches. Look at the Ime Udoka situation. But when you talk about something that almost every content creator and everyone's talking about in the basketball space, and that is how bad the officiating has been. That is how much officials have now almost taken emotion out of the game. We have times where it's not even directed at a ref or another player, that a player is just expressing their frustration or their disappointment in themselves, right? Not even necessarily frustration with the referees, just in themselves on a play or something like that. We are now penalizing those players, and they're getting technical fouls. They're doing things like this that are actually affecting the game. Let's not even talk about the last 2-minute report and how many games have been affected by bad calls in the last 2 minutes of games, and not even just slightly, like hugely affected by that. So when we hear that Adam Commissioner said that the officials are in fact punished for wrong calls, but they don't make it public, and they feel like they think load management is a cultural issue. We'll get into that at some point, but you have to take, like, when your refs are such an important part of the game and they are dictating wins, they are changing in many ways, sometimes NBA history with how they call games. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell and that 71 points and how many times they put him on the line in that case. But and this is what I'm going to read the direct quote. I know some people in that particular call you mentioned in that Celtics-Lakers game were upset that there was no opportunity for a replay. Many people feel focused on the coach not having another challenge, but remember, in our league, you can't challenge a non-call. And there's a lot of difficulty there when you get into non-call. You could suggest every moment at every game is a non-call when a call isn't being made in that way. But so what's the beginning and the end of the play? And if indeed the officials missed the foul, but the other team is saying, well, go back 15 seconds, they missed something else there. It's not an easy issue, but it's something we're going to look at, because my personal view is I don't mind the challenge system, but I also think the ultimate goal is to get it right and not put pressure on the coach in terms of the additional tactic on using the challenge appropriately. Now, that was in regards specifically to the Los Angeles Lakers Celtics situation, but it's just, to me, the NBA has been so extremely lax in how they've dealt with bad calls, officials, missing things, and the whole challenge system in the NBA. While I do commend it because it does help get some things right, but it's not a perfect system yet. And the NBA needs to do something to continually perfecting that system. Just resting on, it's an imperfect system, it's kind of hard. I've said this before, and I know this is not necessarily a take that everyone has or should share, but my take is this. When it comes to last-minute plays, last-second shots, you should review every single last-second shot, which they do to make sure it got off in time, but you should also be reviewing, was there any fouls on that shot? What was the exact position of that shot? Is there, did the player push off? Anything, every single bit of that, because that last-minute call in that case is you are getting the game right or wrong in that. And so the fact that we review buzzer beaters, but we don't review everything around it. Now, again, my team's been affected from it, but other teams have been as well. You have to start looking at that. And I hope that this is a step in the right direction of the refs being the NBA being a little bit more transparent in that process. But to say that, to me, that the officials are punished for wrong calls, but you don't make that public, to get back to the original topic, I feel like why is there a difference between how the players are treated when they're punished versus how the referees are treated when they do something wrong and punished? Let me know what you guys think on that one down below. Make sure you follow the show at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBACentralShow@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for mailbag episodes, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are building this channel, and make sure you guys hit the subscribe button as we're trying to continually build this channel and get it bigger. A lot of you, let's say everyone, most people who are seeing the videos are clicking them, but we need to keep getting a little bit more interaction here. Make sure you guys comment, things like that, so we can break through in the algorithm a little bit more. But that's it for me for today. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.